Hey gorgeous people, this is Chris from Recombu and I'm here with the new Sony Xperia XA1 smartphone, one of Sony's more affordable handsets, launched here in 2017. It's a spiritual successor to last year's Xperia XA, of course. Not called the XA2 as you might expect, it is of course called the XA1, which will be interesting to see what they call next year's phone in that case. But definitely more on the affordable end of the scale to the flagships and the rest. This can be picked up from Carphone Warehouse here in the UK from $18.99 a month, so definitely much more budget friendly. So let's have a bit of a dive inside and see what you can expect if you pick this up. So first of all, the box itself, quite simple. Archetypes might call it minimalist. I would call it a bit plain. That is until at least you pull the lid off. And then as you can see, you get a bit of this lovely sort of Sony's unified design language popping through. So as you see, this is unfortunately the black model of Xperia XA1, so that hence you get the black colour on the box as well. If you picked up the pink model, then it would be pink and so on, and of course all these lovely swirly bits that you get on Sony's desktops. The pink model is an exclusive to Carphone Warehouse, so you'll have to go there if you want that. There's the phone itself in all of its glory. We'll take a good long look at that in a second. Let's pop that aside for now. Just take a look at the rest of the box and see what you get. So startup guides, exciting, bit of bedtime reading, guys. A bit of sheet with a barcode on it, awesome. And you get a plug, of course, always handy if you actually want to use the phone more than once. And of course the USB cable to plug it into. What do we get? We get a bit of Type-C USB action on the bottom there, so that's good. So at least it's fully reversible and all the rest of it, unlike last year's model. Definitely very handy indeed. It's going to be hard to make out any details on this phone because it is of course pure black. So that's everything in the box itself. Not particularly exciting, no cheeky bundled headphones or anything like that, but hey ho, never mind. The phone itself will hopefully make up for that. So first of all, let's just see if it's got any power in it. Hopefully, yeah, a little buzz, there we go. So that'll start to boot up. I'll start to tell you a bit more about the phone itself. So last year's XA was of course a bit of a mixed bag, gorgeous design, but unfortunately a bit flawed in a couple of the other areas, namely performance and battery life. The XA1 hopefully aims to build on that and improve on that original model. So as you can see straight away, it is gorgeously designed. You've got this pretty much edge-to-edge screen, some very, very narrow bezels on the left and the right edges. Looks absolutely stunning indeed. Still quite thick bezels top and bottom, just like all of the Xperia X phones, but still actually feels quite nice in the hand. It's quite compact at 5 inches, so a lot smaller than the likes of the Xperia XZ Premium, which is of course 5.5 inches. Feels like a bit of a beast in the hand because it's got those thicker bezels as well. This actually feels quite nice. One-handed use should be nice and straightforward, which is good. As you can see, of course, it's got more of a Xperia XZ style design as well, so it looks and feels a bit more like the flagships. And then it's got these nice sort of rounded corners here. It looks a lot more symmetrical than a lot of the older budget phones, and it's got these flat top and bottom edges as well, so you can actually stand it up if you so desire. Ta-da! One of the very few smartphones to do that. I know video guys absolutely love that because you don't have to like stick a bit of blue tack behind it or whatever. A little behind the scenes tidbit for you there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to dive through all the setup and everything, get it all set up to the desktops, and then we're going to have a whiz around the rest of the features and the specs. Right, we've whizzed through all the setup process and now we're into Sony's unified language desktops. As you can see, nice swirly patterns, and the colour of the desktops match the colour of the hardware itself and everything. Very nice stuff indeed. Also, of course, on top of Android Nougat, which is the latest version 7.0, so it's not quite the latest version, it's not quite 7.1, but hopefully should receive an update soon. So a little bit more about the phone itself. That's a 5-inch 720p display. It's actually been covered by screen protectors, so let's just peel that off. There we go, lovely stuff. So not quite full HD like a lot of its rivals, such as the Wiley Fox Swift 2X, the Moto G5 and the Lenovo P2 for instance. But if we're getting nice and close, we'll see that, you know, things are still nice and crisp. As you can see there, you'll notice some individual pixels here and there. It's not quite fully sharp, but it'll more than do the job. If you just want to watch a bit of YouTube on the go, browse the internet and all that kind of stuff, it's well up to the task at that. Reasonably vibrant as well. If we dive into the display settings, let's just do that super quick. Display, where are you? There we go. You'll see you've got some options in there as well. There's a bit of image enhancement, so you can actually tap that and it will just kind of, it's not quite as good as the X Reality engine, but it'll help to just fill in some of the blanks and the rest. And our personal favorite is, of course, the super vivid mode. So if you tap that in, basically it just really helps to enhance those colors a little bit, helps to bring them to life. It's an IPS display, so not quite as vibrant as an AMOLED, but we found, certainly with other Sony devices, that really helps to boost it to a similar sort of level. Not expecting quite the same performance from this screen, but as you can see, it looks perfectly fine. You know, it'll definitely do the job. I hope it gets more colourful wallpaper than just mostly black on there, and that'll help out a bit. Flip the phone to the side, you'll see it doesn't have that iconic Sony flat edge-mounted fingerprint sensor. Instead, you get the traditional old-school rounded power button, which of course juts nicely out of the edge there. So that means, unfortunately, you can't unlock the phone with your fingerprint as you can with the more premium Sonys. A bit of a shame that it's not included in there, because obviously the likes of the Moto G5 and other cheapy phones do actually have that these days. But never mind, you've still got the likes of Google's Trusted Places and Devices and the rest, which you can use instead. Now, if we dive a bit into the settings, you'll see, of course, it's traditional Android Nougat. Sony hasn't tinkered with it too much. You can edit your notifications bar to set up exactly the kind of shortcuts that you want and all the rest of it. Dive back out of there. You've also got quick access to your settings, user profiles, and all the rest of it, of course. Some of the Sony options that we like from one of the more premium phones aren't on board, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, there's no support for high-res audio, and also there's no way to boost tracks that are sort of a little bit old and lower quality, unfortunately, but you do get the likes of Clear Audio Plus and the dynamic normalizer to help if your volume is a bit all over the place, which is always good. And of course you get the usual tutorials and all the rest of it packed on there as well, which is always handy. So if you're sort of struggling a little bit, it's maybe your first Android phone and all the rest of it, then you can get a little bit of help through that. Now, as for the performance, so this is running a Mediatek P20 processor backed by 3 gigs of RAM. So the performance was a bit stilted on the original Xperia XA, mostly because it only had 2 gigs of RAM as well, of course, which was quite limiting, and an older Mediatek processor. So far, touch wood, the XA1 seems pretty nippy. Tap things and things just happen without any stutter or pause. So that's an immediate improvement on the old one. So let's we'll give it a good old test. Of course, I'll be using it as my full-time phone for a full week for the review, and just to sort of get an idea of what you can expect. You see the occasional little sort of pause, but of course it is freshly set up. It's still sort of finding its legs. So and there is, of course, already a system update to install. That was quick. So we'll get that installed and see how that performs as well. And I'll be doing a full benchmark test as well, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, hopefully we'll stand up well. Battery life, of course, Sony reckons you'll get a couple of days out of it. That's always a little bit optimistic, but we'll see indeed. Of course, it's got Sony's clever battery tech on board as well, which means that it doesn't overcharge and overheat and therefore damage the battery over time. So hopefully you'll get consistent battery life for the lifetime of this phone. And of course, you get all the usual bonus little Sony apps and the rest chucked on as well, the likes of the Sony News app, for instance. Bit of PlayStation action there as well. I don't know if this will have the ability to stream directly from your PS4, unfortunately, which is always a lovely little feature if you can do that. But yeah, it does say connect to PS4, so it looks like you can actually use it as a second screen for your PlayStation. So getting a bit of game streaming on the go, finishing an Uncharted level while you're taking a dump or whatever, always good. So that's a nice little feature to have. Which brings us, of course, onto the camera tech as well. On the back here, you have a 23 megapixel snapper. So that's a big improvement over last year's 13 megapixel Xperia XA effort. Let's just prise off this random sticker while we're on the back. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So if we dive into the camera settings, here we go. It'll be your sort of standard. Oh god, sorry, just got to go through all the permissions and all that bullshit. Yeah, fine. So it's your standard Sony camera interface, as you will well know if you've already owned a Sony phone in any sort of recent times. So it immediately starts up in your auto mode. It looks like a good bit of superior auto, so that's always good. You got manual mode as well, video mode, and of course your bonus features, which is very limited in this one actually. You just got AR effects, panorama, a nice bit of time shift burst and all that. No 4K, unfortunately, on this one. It maxes out at HD recording, but you do, I believe you do get a bit of steady shot on there. Yep, there we go. Steady shot is on board. It's not the intelligent active steady shot, but it's better than nothing. That should hopefully help to keep your videos a bit sort of smooth, work out some of the jerkiness if you're like moving around and shooting at the same time. So that's a good feature to have, and plenty of other little bonus features too. So superior auto, of course, should do the job for pretty much everyone, for your everyday shots. You can of course manually focus if you want, or it's got full autofocus, and hopefully it should be a pretty nippy snapper. Slight processing time, but nothing too bad whatsoever. That's actually pretty nippy. And of course, if you want the full manual controls, you can just dive down and jump into all of that. So you can mess around with ISO levels, white balance, all the rest of it. So that's lovely to have too. And hopefully, as it's a 23 megapixel snapper, it'll be a strong one. And you also get an 8 megapixel snapper at the front as well. So good for those selfie shots and all the rest of it. So that in a nutshell is the Xperia XA1. It's certainly a very nice looking phone. Feels good in the hand, nice and compact, good to use one-handed. Which is always lovely to have. Certainly feels very compact compared to a lot of the 5.5 inches that we've been playing with, and then of course a lot of the flagships are hitting 6 inches now, so basically our phones are turning into tablets. Lovely stuff. But if you've got any questions or anything, any comments and the rest, let us know in the comments below. I'll be using this, as I say, my full-time phone for a full week before doing my review. I will of course do the system updates, and then I'll do some benchmarking as well, so stay tuned for all that. So thanks for watching everyone. Love you, bye!